Two of our favorite podcasts are crossing over every 2 weeks. Kate Achille of Up Next at Work and George LaRocque of WorkTech look at the tech, business, and people that impact our HR and WorkTech industry. It's a crosspod with a unique strategic lens on what's happening in our world. Enjoy!
And here we are back at Up Next at WorkTech. Hi, Kate.
Hi there.
You ready for another one?
Yeah, lots has been happening once again.
A lot. So much. It was hard to pick which stories to talk about this week. There's so much going on.
Yeah, that it was. Otherwise, we'd be here all day.
Yeah. But let's start out with our wonderful HR tech and work tech industry. Let's start focused there. Why don't you lead us off with the first story or two there?
Yeah, y'all have been keeping us on our toes. So UKG announced their venture fund, which is interesting. So they are going to be investing in early to growth stage companies, is how they framed it. And the first three that they announced are Financial Wellness Labs, formerly known as Questus, Intermezzo.ai, and Acadian Ventures.
Yeah.
Some thoughts there, George?
Well, for an announcement, it was like the worst kept secret ever.
Worse than Paradox? Come on.
It was right. Okay. Second worst. When I saw that they had announced it, it was like, oh, that's right. That's news. That's right. That's news. They were openly talking about it, just keeping it, low key as the kids would say, for a while. So, I think it's a good thing. I think when they say early stage, they're talking about Series A, Series B, and then they have their labs component, which is more of an accelerator for really early stage, like pre-seed and seed rounds. And their investment in Acadian is really effectively, I guess they become an LP, one of Acadian's investors, and then Acadian will take their funds out to market, which is a way for them to maybe participate in even more deals. So I think it's a good thing to have more money flowing into the space. I think it supports their story lately around AI and innovation. Their new CEO has been making some interesting moves internally and externally. So yeah, I was pleased that they're doubling down on the industry.
Yeah, I think it's part of this new chapter of UK, the story they're trying to tell about this new chapter and this new brand. All right, what's next? Or who's next, I should say.
Who's next? Next, I'll let you talk us through the Personio story.
Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. Not quite as happy, I guess, as the UKG one. So Personio is leaving the US. So we don't often hear about people completely pulling out of the US market.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of this, they have laid off, I believe it's 165 people, which is their third reduction in force, I believe, in less than 2 years. I think about 10% of their workforce.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, Personio entered the U.S. market about 3.5 years ago, something like that. I think they're roughly 10 years old as a company. And, from what I was able to find online, I think they first opened their New York office sometime in like 2022, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are at the end of 2025, and they are going to be no more here in the U.S. So that's kind of quick, it seems like.
Yeah. It feels, based on everything else that I see in the market, it feels less like a statement about the market or a statement about the U.S. market and more about Personio, more about their execution. HCM platforms not from the U.S. like HiBob seem to be having, they've been at it for much longer, and they're privately held. They would tell us they have traction. They certainly are very visible to me in the space. A big part of our market is relationship driven, ecosystem driven. HiBob comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really comparing HiBob and Personio, just the fact that they're both not from here and the fact that Personio doesn't come up. They really don't come up. So I think there's more to being successful in the North American or U.S. market than opening an office and having feet on the street. So I don't know. What do you see when you look at this?
Yeah, I mean, from a brand awareness perspective, I agree. HiBob is obviously kind of everywhere. Some of that has to do, obviously, with how they market themselves. They've, HiBob is, again, we can't compare apples to oranges, but yeah, Personio, definitely a much lower profile. I think Personio also competes for kind of that SMB
Yep.
is the customer profile they're going after. Obviously, huge number of companies in that part of the market here in the US coming from Germany and, Europe. Maybe didn't translate, maybe
Hmm.
didn't build the right team here in the US. Obviously, I said they had a New York office. I don't know if they opened offices in other parts of the US or where they had boots on the ground. So, to your point, maybe this was a strategy, a lack of strategy or failure there in terms of where their execution kind of fell short versus the US market. Because I do think we've seen a huge shift in companies targeting the SMB in the last few years.
Very true.
I can't say it's that part of the market.
Right.
Plenty of customers there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that.
Yeah. And there's a long list of, I wouldn't compare Personio to SAP, but SAP is a German company.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't compare them to PageUp, but PageUp is, Australian, and they exited last year and are now, doubling down in the U.S. and North
Mm-hmm.
America. I think it feels like execution to me. It feels like they probably also had some. We were looking at their the money that they've raised, and they had. It's very usually when you see two of one series, like a later stage series, like a growth stage, they had two Series E's, adding up to almost $500 million in investment capital in less than a year. Usually is a sign that things are not going as planned, but I don't know enough about it, but it feels like their valuation was very high at like $6 billion. I'm sure that's not what it is today. A little bit over their skis, and
they were going to IPO at one point. It seems like they've kind of maybe just been going in too many different directions for a company. Maybe they scaled too quickly, did too many things, took too much money, but perhaps maybe refocusing is the right move.
Yeah.
So
yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yep. So moving along, staying, in the industry, but not really in the industry is how I would say it. So moving on to Mercor. So in my circles, a lot of people have been losing their mind about Mercor in talent acquisition. Like as recently as, 2 months ago at HR Tech, just folks talking about how they've raised so much money and their massive valuation. And I keep telling people they are not in talent acquisition. When they launched, they may have pivoted, but they talked a lot about their platform that they created to find and match talent to projects. But those projects are all with the big AI companies like OpenAI or Anthropic or Meta or Google, anyone training a large language model, anybody training AI. And they built really a marketplace to find individuals largely from places where rates are lower to pay rates are low, to help train AI. And there are several companies in that business. All are, as you would imagine, getting money thrown at them by those large AI businesses. Their valuations are through the roof. Mercor's valuations, an article in Marketing Artificial Intelligence Institute, what Mercor's $10 billion valuation could mean for the future of work. So a $10 billion valuation. They came on the scene like just a little over a year ago. So this is, incredible, but they're essentially a body shop. That's what we call them. They rent talent to put on projects. It's a transient experience for the talent, and they're helping train the AI. And so it feels to me like they're racing toward a cliff where at some point the AI will be trained and we don't need those humans anymore. So I don't know what they do then. And the AI needs to be trained in order for it to get more effective, but it all seems like the fact that they're valued at 10 billion and the rate at which these companies, like there are multiple companies all in the $10 billion plus range, valuation range, doing what Mercor does. It scares me a little bit because that, they're also, if they're training the AI, then they're going to be training those what are digital twins?
The digital twin,
Yeah. And, I feel like this is all moving really fast. And the thing that isn't moving fast is regulation. And I feel like we need more guardrails. These people are spending, the average rate is like $85 an hour to train AI, which probably sounds wonderful to someone, especially in this economy, but it's a real short-term gain because you are literally taking yourself out of a job by putting all your worker knowledge into something for $100 an hour.
Well, I mean, I guess the good thing is they're based in California, and I think California has a whole bunch of new AI regulations going into effect.
Okay.
But there's my silver lining.
There you go.
One of the articles I read said they've got 30,000 experts on the platform, and so they're paying out 1.5 million a day, something like that.
Yeah.
But again, if they're in California, there's a whole bunch of new employment laws and AI related regulations going into effect.
That's a really good
I think
point.
Jan 1.
Yeah.
If they haven't already.
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
I've never met anyone that was an AI trainer. So
me neither.
So when these companies talk about their work, it's like doctors, nurses, scientists, like very high level, professors.
Domain experts, they say.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And it's like, I'd like to meet somebody who's done this. I'd like to know what it's like what.
Yeah. I bet there's got to be an article out there. Someone who's like, I trained the AI. So.
All right. Well, maybe next week we'll talk. We'll
have to look for that. Yeah.
All right.
Especially someone who's getting paid a lot for it.
Yeah. Speaking of skills.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So, our friends over at Plum, which I think,
segue?
Yeah, good one. So the folks over at Plum, which some of our listeners may be familiar with, they are one of the assessment providers in the space. They recently came out with what they called their Durable Skills Index, the 2025 North American edition. Pulled this one because I thought it was kind of fun, and it's 82 cities across the US and Canada. And what's cool about it is when you click on a city, you can pick, again, there's 82 different ones. So if you are located in, say, let's pick Des Moines, and you click in, and it will give you the top 3 skills, durable skills in Des Moines. So for Des Moines, that would be conflict resolution, embracing diversity, and teamwork. But then Plum takes it a step further, and they tell you which jobs are suited for those durable skills. So it then gives you a list of jobs that match those types of skills, such as HR coordinator or customer experience supervisor. And so basically Plum has created this whole index about, durable skills connecting to geography and roles. You can match it to, different markets, the top 10 different durable skills, regions. It's like a whole thing that you can dive into. There's a fact sheet. And I thought it was kind of cool. It's based on like 59,000 different people's responses and 2.5 million assessment answers, and the Plum talent model. So I thought it was kind of cool.
I love it.
And there's 300 job categories, 27 industries. It's pretty big in scope.
Yeah. In this, speaking of the future of work and whether AI is displacing jobs or enabling jobs, empowering jobs, anything I've ever seen or read that talks about where you need to focus, it's on these durable skills. And the world is becoming less based on what do we call them, the hard skills or technical skills, and more the durable skills. So I think it is literally a map that you click on, and it could be the map it could be your map as a professional as to where you need to focus based on what you bring to the table. I think it's very smart. And very
cool.
timely.
Yeah. And, George, I didn't even mention this to you, but one of the other things I had been reading this week was about how Gen Z specifically it's one of these new buzzy terms, like, the Great Recession and all of that. I guess Gen Z is looking at boring jobs, they're calling them. And so boring jobs.
Okay.
Boring jobs actually are what we would consider durable skills to be. So boring jobs are the ones that will be somewhat AI proof. So like dental hygienist, maybe someone will one day create a robot that can do a teeth cleaning,
Hmm.
but I find it hard to believe. So I guess Gen Z knowing and kind of watching the evolution of AI unfold has kind of hooked into the fact that, there are these perishable skills and that maybe they need to find the durable ones. And so boring jobs are becoming a bit of a trend in the way that we've seen, quiet quitting and
Yeah.
quiet working and great recessions and great resignations and all the other buzzy
I
trends over the years. So
think Gen Z might, if they don't want to be replaced by clankers,
clanker,
then they and want to be able to afford a micro retirement, then I think they might look at this.
they should, because I don't know about you, but as a millennial, I probably will not be taking any micro retirement
Yeah.
or
Nope.
any retirement of any kind. I will be here at this desk
Yeah.
forever. So.
Yeah. And those are two, clanker and micro retirement are two of my like 4 Gen Z terms that I know how to use appropriately in a sentence, or maybe inappropriately in a sentence,
Okay.
I'm sure
Very
my
hip.
kids would correct me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very hip.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So that brings us to, I think there's some, the data, because we're still in the midst, well, somewhat of, I believe we do not have a new jobs report yet still.
Correct. And Friday, Business Insider, well, we had a couple. I caught this Business Insider article where they looked at private data sources. So, the headline was, there's no jobs report today. This was on Friday, but here's what private data is telling us about the labor market. And I think that is really the story, is that the jobs report was one data source. And what Business Insider looked at was ADP, Challenger, Gray and Christmas, Indeed, LinkedIn, Bank of America, and Gusto. And they looked at factors around compensation growth, which is growing overall, but still with high unemployment. Looked at, job losses being up, job postings hitting the lowest point since 2021. And of course, all of these sources drill in. So I think the message is more data points are good, and hope, the silver lining around the jobs report not being available may be forcing HR leaders, business leaders to go outside. But you found a couple of other articles about the same thing.
I did. Yeah, I think maybe we got too accustomed to the jobs report always being there. I think this, and I think we talked about it in a previous episode. This was like the first time the jobs report wasn't available since like 2013 or 2014, something like that. So yeah, HR folks have had to get creative with their data sources. So I know SHRM released a report last week called Tracking Employment in the Dark Beyond the Missing Jobs Report, which drew on ADP and Lightcast's data. And then Bullhorn has also launched Bullhorn Insights, which is their labor market research site, which is, I think, proprietary data for them. So they've got, data that they're putting out now. I think Veritone does some analysis that they do quarterly. So to your point though, George, there's other data sources out there that we need to be looking at, because relying on just one obviously isn't the best idea when it's no longer available, or if it's going to get changed.
Yeah.
Whether that's just a correction, or if leadership is going to influence how it's measured.
Yeah.
Lots of different things that could happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think and all of these data sources, I know Bullhorn, which a lifetime ago, I was there, I ran global sales for them just to disclose, but they have an incredible amount of data. ADP has an incredible amount of data. Lightcast is in the business of having an incredible amount of this data. And all of the brands that we've mentioned, for the most part, have been tracking this and reporting on this for a long time. So their methodologies are published. You're not looking at opportunists who have come in and said, oh, we're going to throw something together to get you to buy our software. These are good sources of information. And I think HR's better off, even when the jobs report comes back, to be comparing all of these to find their signal in the noise, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think we had our last story today. I'm going to not steal any of your thunder, and it's a fun one that you discovered.
It is a fun one. And I think, I think we're all starting to feel it's the end of the year. It's getting there. We're getting to the end of the year.
Yep.
So I got this story, and that is that if you have unused PTO, which I hope some of you do, you can visit St. Pete Clearwater to take one last beach vacation before the year ends. And I guess if you book through this direct link, you can earn up to $50 a night for each vacation day used, up to 5 nights. So that's $250 in gift cards to take a vacation. And I think it's been a long year, so why not? Go get
Yeah.
some sun.
Yeah.
I think, sounds pretty good to me right about now.
I think it's genius marketing. I have no idea how they could possibly know whether you're using PTO or not. And I don't think they really care, probably. They just want you to go visit their area, and it's worth $50 a night. So I think but it gets
It's like
people
one
thinking.
free vacation, one free hotel night, or your plane ticket, depending on where you're flying from.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think that's good on them for having good marketing. And we could all use a little time for sure.
Absolutely. For sure. Absolutely. All right. So that brings us to our pit and our peak. All right,
Pit
George.
And peak. What do we start with? Pits or peaks?
Well, you can start with either one.
Okay.
You want to start on the low note or the high note?
I'm going to go on the low note. I'm going to start on the low note. And the low note is, we all know we've been educated recently through this government shutdown on these subsidies that go into the ACA. And anybody who is, an entrepreneur or a small business is directly impacted by this because, for instance, I go through, we have our own marketplace in New Jersey where we're at, but my pit is because November 1st has passed, we all have access to what those premiums would be, and they are going up. So I don't really want to get into a whole political thing about the shutdown. I know that looks like it may be ending imminently. I hope that the promise of the vote on these subsidies is more than just a pinky promise where nothing gets delivered, because I'm not the one you should be worried about. There are so many folks who come January are going to just not have health insurance unless this gets solved. And anyhow, that's my pit right now. So
yeah, my pit would be similar. I don't like gambling on people's basic needs. And I think food, healthcare, things like that are basic needs.
Yeah.
So I think we should be covering those at a minimum.
Yeah.
Without getting any more political than that, I will say that is my pit for the week. So let's go to our peak. What's your peak?
Yeah, peak. And I have to thank you for helping me with a peak. Not that things are that dark that I have no peak, but the kids will be home from school, one from North Carolina, one from across state, for Thanksgiving soon. And that's a wonderful peak.
It is a wonderful peak. And my peak is I just joined the board of a new nonprofit that
cool.
I'm super passionate about. It is called Safe Scene New Jersey, and it is a harm reduction organization that specifically targets the nightlife scene. So I will be doing some great work with them. And I'm very excited because I have been very active in the New Jersey nightlife scene for a long time. So I'm happy to be doing some good work there and making sure
really
people
cool.
have what they need. So yeah, that's my peak.
That's excellent. Oh, good for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right. We did it again. There we go.
We did it. All right. Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Kate.
Thanks.
And until next time.
Thank you, George. Talk soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to or watching Up Next at WorkTech, brought to you by the Work Defined Podcast Network, the Devon Group, and WorkTech.